I do not want to be your punching bag, 'cause I'm done with that. I will not let myself be a doormat, 'cause I don't want to be walked on. What will you do when I am nowhere to be found? What will you do when I'm not around? It seems like every day it's something else. Sometimes you'll have to do things by yourself, 'cause I can't do it all for you. What will you do when I am nowhere to be found? What will you do when I'm not around? Will you go find someone else when you need some help? Will you tell them that they're doing it wrong? Well, I guess that's how it is. I do not want to be your punching bag, 'cause I'm done with that. I will not let myself be a doormat, 'cause I don't want to be walked on. What will you do when I am nowhere to be found? What will you do when I'm not around?
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. We appear to be. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel. And as Chuck Todd says, if it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, we have got some interesting fights, a sprinkling of news, and a whole lot of shenanigans to get into with you here. So before we jump right into it, as is the case like most weeks, we have got a panel full of facially follicle folk and RJ here to break down all the most exciting things in the MMA world for you here. First and foremost, the Rogaine kid himself. RJ, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, especially since I won't forget mentioning Discord today. I did it twice before. Doing pretty good, though. It's been a long day, but basically got to end it off on a good note.
Hell yeah. And then across from that baby-faced young man is the purple strap holder himself, the freshest guest a man could ask for, Mr. Fresh 03. How you doing this evening, sir?
We're doing pretty good. I think me and RJ we're gonna start tag teaming people. We can't wait. We can't ever work out a way to fight, so we're just gonna start tag teaming people. So everybody, watch out. The seasoned veteran slash best bearded titles that could be held by other members of the panel. Me and RJ may be coming for you. Just saying.
I believe RJ could be coming for people on this panel. Just saying.
You don't know what I got underneath this desk, man.
See, I've talked to that kid after hours. It gets scary. Oh, and then as the case more often than not across the octagon from myself, my Wednesday night compatriot, my combat shit talking homeboy, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing this evening, sir?
Fucking exhausted, but ready to talk some fucking kicky punchies.
There you
Albeit,
go.
the more I looked over the card, the more disappointed I am. So I think it's best that I stop looking at it.
Yeah, it was tough. I genuinely originally was fairly excited for UFC 256. What it has turned into now, not nearly as much. There's still some interesting shit on that card. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but due to the Backstreet Boys reunion and injuries, this is, I believe, the second full workup, third fine tuning, I say with air quotes, of the UFC 256 card. This has already been completely wiped out and remade from top to bottom essentially once, and even the second reworking of the card itself did not hold up, as they have lost, I think, 6 out of the 13 fights that they had originally booked for that card. We have got a whittled down version of what's left of it, but we'll get into that in just a little bit here. Weekend was crazy, so we did not get a What Did I Say show. I do want to give a quick little rundown, quick little run over recap of the craziness that was last weekend, because we had some fucking excitement pop off last weekend. There was some fights that had no business being as entertaining as they actually ended up being, and I was pleasantly surprised in a few situations here. The first thing, the most shocking thing I think of last weekend that started out, for the first time in his entire fucking career, Ovince St. Preux missed weight. Not only did he miss weight, it was only 1.5 pounds, so it's not like an egregious thing. It was just 1.5 pounds, but it was the first time he had ever missed weight in his entire career. And he was the first person in the room at 9 a.m. when they opened up the weigh-ins. He was the first person on the scale and did not even attempt to take the extra 1.5 hours or 2 hours or whatever it is while the scales are open to go step in a fucking sauna and lose 1.5 pounds. He just took it and gave up part of his purse. That right away, that gave you an idea, like, what the fuck? Like, this is already feeling a little odd for a card to be fucking going out like that to start with. The guy who's the consummate professional, who's generally the beacon of professionalism in the fight world, steps in for the first time 1.5 pounds off and doesn't even try to come back and cut it. So it's like, okay, I see where we're going. I see how this is gonna fucking play out. Then we find out that Montana De La Rosa versus Tyler Santos last minute is off because Montana De La Rosa's cornerman catches himself a ticket to the reunion tour. So right out of the gate, the card is full of fuckery. Like, OSP missed weight somehow. The day of, Montana's cornerman catches himself that ticket, so that fucking fight is off. It's like, what the fuck, man? But when the fights actually did open up, it kind of went a little bit like we anticipated it was going to. Gian Vellante is one hard-hitting son of a bitch, but you can tell that by him staying at heavyweight, he is slowing way the fuck down. He has lost 1.5 steps compared to what he was when he was fighting in his quote-unquote prime at fucking 205. Just letting go and just stepping in there because he's still a tough motherfucker is not enough to cut it anymore. And like I said, I like Jake Collier, but man, there was nothing impressive. He didn't do a goddamn thing to show me anything, any reason that he should have won that fucking fight. It was kind of sad. I think it's realistically time for Jean to start looking at permanent coaching gigs and start looking at leaving those fucking gloves in the octagon. I don't really see him having much of a career left. At this point, there aren't really a whole lot of names they can put him with to give him a chance to even shine and try and go out, on a bright note. He just fucking had a lackluster at best performance against up-and-comer, quote-unquote, Jake Collier. The horizon is bleak for Gian Vellante, and that sucks, but, man, as they say, it is what it is. I will say this, though. We kind of had a feeling going in that Ia Taporia was going to be exciting because we saw him last time out and he was fucking exciting. And you know what? The man's developing a fucking pattern. He came out Saturday night and just put on the ass whipping shoes and went to fucking work. Holy shit, that motherfucker, not only is he strong as shit, his striking is so fucking smooth. That fucking step off fucking shot looked so effortless. He put so fucking fluid movement into it. It was almost like when you watch the slow motion of a scientific breakdown where they're actually just trying to show you the kinetic force equaling the impact strength. And it's like, you almost felt bad for homeboy, man. You almost felt bad for homeboy, but props to fucking Ia Taporia, man. That motherfucker, if he keeps up on the path that he is starting to look like he is on now, that dude's going to be a serious fucking problem for a lot of people in the very, very near future. That being said, Luis Smoka, excuse me, another one that I never, not that I've got anything against him, I just didn't know if he really has what it takes. We've seen him be fun, but being fun in a fight is very different than being dominant enough to make a statement in a fight. And he fucking weathered the storm and came out grinning evilly on the other side of it and put fucking work in, man. He fucking wore it. He wore it when he walked out of that fucking cage. You know damn well that Luis Smoka was in a fight last Saturday night. But man, when he flipped that fucking switch and you could tell that storm that he was in front of was over and it was time for him to have fun, he got loose and he got after it, man. Props to fucking Luis Smoka. It's going to be interesting to see the result of that matchup is when Dana finally decides what he's going to do, since we know that he's got some fuckery afoot that we'll talk about a little bit later too. But that would bring us into the everyone watching it felt that moment of the early part of the card last weekend. Matt Wyman. Wow. What a hell of a fucking week Matt Wyman had. Last Saturday, he gets picked up by a gentleman and just absolutely crossbar fucking slammed. The gentleman who was making his debut thought in the moment as he was getting ready to fucking drop Matt Wyman, who had locked onto him, to put his forearm across the base of Wyman's clavicle, right across his neck here, right before he flipped and dropped on him. And when they hit the ground, Wyman never unglued. When they touched the ground, it was freeze tag, and Wyman was fucking hit. He did not move. He was out immediately upon hitting the fucking ground. And it gets worse. You would think getting knocked the fuck out is about as bad as your night can get. And boy, is that just the tip of the iceberg for poor Matt Wyman. Not only did he get knocked the fuck out in an absolute brutal fucking drop slam, clean as shit, to be fair, clean as shit, but brutal as fuck. Then when he comes to, the gentleman who just knocked him the fuck out legitimately did the splits in the middle of the octagon and then dirty dancing not once but twice with his cornerman in the center of the octagon. Full on, nobody puts baby in the corner. The lift, it happened twice in the middle of the fucking octagon. So Matt Wyman got knocked out, came to, saw homeboy doing the splits in the middle of the octagon, which I imagine is a little confusing. And then as he tries to pull his consciousness back into focus, he looks over and the dude's cornerman is putting baby in the corner in the middle of the fucking ring. Like, that's brutal. That's just absolutely fucking brutal. But there is actually even a shit cherry on top of this turd Sunday to make it even fucking worse, because we found out that yesterday, not only did Matt Wyman get knocked the fuck out this week and get embarrassed by the dude that knocked him out, but then the UFC decided they were going to go ahead and cut him in the middle of the week. Not to say that Matt Wyman had, bright prospects or was a fucking, super shooting star, talented young up and comer or anything, but that's a rough way to get fucking let go. Like that was a brutal KO to begin with. That fucking shot of the dude that knocked him out doing the baby in the corner thing has been replayed on so many different fucking sports channels over this week. I get it. Like that's going to suck. Matt Wyman needs to just go hide in his house and turn off social media for a week or two, relax, and then emerge in a couple weeks and start all over again, because it will be 2021 and you can just go for that clean, fresh start. Just let the rest of December go and relax, dude. That's a fucking bad week.
I believe he retired.
Yeah, I believe he did retire after they announced that they were cutting him.
Yeah, he said enough's enough. And with that, the way that went down,
right? Yeah,
enough's enough.
I don't blame him a bit, because holy shit, dude. Yeah, fuck, it was a rough weekend for him, to say the least. Ironically enough, that brings us to a point that I was pretty emphatically making last week, to let you guys know to keep your eyes peeled. Sure enough, it proved true. Roman Dolidze is a fucking beast. If you don't know, now you fucking know. That son of a bitch. Like, that dude has been impressive every time we've seen him to begin with, but then you see the fucking legitimate raw power and fucking smooth movements that son of a bitch has got from last weekend. Dude, you better fucking look out for that dude. He's a bad motherfucker, and he's trying to make a splash real quick. That brings us into one of the best placed knees I can remember seeing in at least the last year or two. To be fair, the fucking Jorge Masvidal flying knee was great, but that was a flying knee. I'm talking from a standing position in the fight. No, just turning, hey-ya, and the fucking fight went thump. Mr. Benitez. Holy shit, did I and no one else see that fucking knee coming out of left field and just crumpled that young man's body. That was absolutely fucking beautiful. He put a knee in that dude's liver in motion, and it shut the fucking showdown. You saw it immediately. That switch got flipped, and he was like, oh, we're done. Oh, that's another one that you felt it when you watched it, because it was almost Jeremy Stevens-esque the way that he just got turned the fuck off. That, ironically enough, will bring us into the weight mister himself, Mr. OSP. I kind of emphasized it last week, and I'm going to emphasize it again. I got nothing against Jamal Hill. I think the kid has absolutely every chance to be a fucking great fighter, but what we saw from him last week was not anything impressive. What it looked like was OSP is getting old and just didn't fucking show up. He missed weight on the scale and didn't even try and make it again. He got pieced the fuck up and wasn't even holding his fucking hands up to guard his face against the fence for a good 20 seconds, 25 seconds. And I don't mean like RDA Robbie Lawler where he's teeing off and Robbie Lawler's giggling and moving. I mean, OSP had his fucking hands down and was just going through the motions, being a fucking heavy bag, getting sparred on. It was bad. I'm glad the ref did step in and didn't let him get actually fucking knocked smooth the fuck out, because he was starting to just get bobblehead fucking rock'em sock'em roboted against the cage, and it wasn't gonna end any better than it did. The referee legitimately saved him from unconsciousness, I think. I don't think this is anything that Mr. Hill can really try and brag or make a fucking point that he needs better fights off of. Like, he definitely showed that he still needs some fucking work, and he's still young in the game. But what it did show to me is that OSP is in that Gian Vellante status now. Like, we knew that they were looking at 18. I didn't realize that they had already walked off the course and are, about to grab the handle at the fucking clubhouse. Like, those dudes are both done. I don't see any path back for either one of them, and that sucks, because OSP has been a bad motherfucker in MMA for a long goddamn time and has earned the praise that his name carries. But that's one of those situations where those days are gone, and much as you might like to, you can't force your glory days back, and when your prime passes, it's fucking gone. I think both of those guys realistically need to hang them up. And now, speaking of lackluster performances, that will bring us into the yawn-inducing main event from last week, Hermansen versus Victori. To be fair, decent fight overall, but Hermansen just seemed too gun shy. Like, he was throwing and he was landing some good shots, but it was not the usual Hermansen who just has that fearless ability to walk through the fucking winging shots that get thrown at him. And Victori threw more than a couple of fucking winging ugly ass fucking shots. This is one of those situations where it doesn't feel like Marvin Victori won a fight. It feels like Jack Hermansen gave up a fight, like not gave up in the fight, but just didn't do enough and let Victori have the fight. Another situation, kind of like earlier, I don't understand how fucking Marvin Victori used this fight as an excuse to call for Paulo Costa and then a title shot after that. Like, first off, calm the fuck down. Second off, shut up. I get it. Vittori's trying to get himself back into the hype and stay relevant, but you ain't getting shit off of that, buddy. Sorry, man. We did, ironically enough, though, get actual fight of the night and performance of the night bonuses again. So back to quote unquote somewhat normal. Fight of the night was Hermansen versus Victori, which I get it. Performance of the night, Le'Veon Wright, the guy that slammed Matt Wyman, got a 50K fucking bonus. And then Mr. Benitez, who put that fucking knee from hell across Justin James and put him out with it. Both got 50 Gs for their troubles. This is one of the few weeks where the medical suspensions were not ridiculous. Hermansen and Jamal Hill, who both had fucking crazy hard battles, 6 months or cleared by a doctor, but pretty much everyone else, OSP suspended till January 20th. Benitez is out till December 20th. James is out till January 5th. Like, nobody's really out for more than a couple weeks, save for the couple people who took visible fucking damage. Jake Collier's got to get cleared by a doctor. Damon Jackson's got to get cleared by a doctor. John Allen fucked his knee up in that fight, got to get cleared by a doctor. But all the medical suspensions for a change actually make fairly decent and reasonable sense. I don't remember when the last time we got that in Vegas, so I'm just going to take that, smile, and roll right the fuck on with it. So that being said, we do have some interesting news to close that out, because there were so many crazy finishes on that card, kind of like UFC 255 just a couple weeks ago. Dana White also said that the people who got their finish and didn't get their 50K from the official fight of the night bonus, I say with air quotes, also still got themselves the 50 grand bonus after all was said and done. He said both Jamal Hill for stopping OSP, for getting the stoppage against OSP, and then Ia Topuria, who fucking that fucking brutal KO knockout earlier. He said both of them will also get themselves a 50K bonus, although they would not be getting theirs in a bag full of cash like Davison Figueiredo got his last one, which I gotta say, I don't want to see Dana do that all the time, but in that situation, bringing the guy who just became your fucking champion in no time flat and looked stunning doing it, but somehow got snubbed on the bonus, bringing that man a fucking bag with 50K cash in it, that was a good move. I don't want to see everybody get that, but in that situation, nicely done. But Dana, taking away a little of his douchebaggery vibe, did go ahead and confirm that both Hill and Topuria will also get 50K bonuses, even though they didn't make the officials. But in news going forward from there, part of finding out about Wyman getting cut was in that they were also talking about some of the other releases that happened this week. It wasn't just Matt Wyman. The UFC is starting to quote unquote trim the fat here at the end of the year. They announced that Matt Wyman, Rachel Ostovich, and Yoel Romero were all three cut loose this week. And on top of that, Dana actually said that this is just the beginning of what are going to be quote unquote big changes around the UFC, because they signed 57 new fighters this year from the Contender Series. And they have a lot of older fighters who are longer in their career who I understand from a business standpoint don't make a lot of sense to keep around. Yoel Romero has lost 4 out of his last 5 and now gets, I believe they said 350 and 350. So you're legitimately talking about almost $1 million just for Yoel Romero to fight on a night if he wins, not counting any bonuses. And these COVID times when he's on a 4-fight losing streak, that's a heavy line to toe. So I kind of get it. Rachel Ostovich, again, lost 3 of her last 4 and did not look impressive in the 1 decision win that she got. She said herself she knew she was fighting for her career in that fight and she had to win, and she didn't. So, again, we understand Rachel getting cut. Wyman, after that fucking slam, that's cold-blooded of Dana to do, but I get it. Like we said last week, he'd been out for 2 fucking years and just came back. Like, didn't really show us anything spectacular. Didn't look terrible, but didn't show us anything spectacular. And in this day and age, in this game, you can't take time off, let alone 2.5 years off and come back exactly where you were. You're going to lose a step. It's inevitable, which is also partly why I'm curious to see how TJ is going to look when he comes back in the beginning of 2021. But we'll see. That's another story for another day. But Dana confirmed that not only did these 3 get cut this week, but there are 60 plus other fighters on the UFC roster that will be cut before New Year's. That before 2021 starts, there will be potentially as many as 75 other fighters cut from the UFC roster. He said, and I quote, "There will be some big names that people will be sad to go, but we will let them go anyway. Just keep your eyes peeled for the releases." So they've apparently already got their eyes on some of the larger income making figures like a Yoel Romero here. It's going to be interesting to see who exactly gets the axe before the end of the year, because we got a couple weeks left. I imagine basically after every event we have for the rest of the year, this one and the next one, we're going to get a fairly large list. So we'll see how that shakes loose.
Yeah, and some of that's also going to be contract negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not
So
all.
you want to stick
cut.
around.
Yeah,
Just saying, you got to take cut. But I mean, Yoel Romero had essentially painted himself into a corner. So when the
He really
release
did.
happened, I was like,
yeah, it sucks, but you know, what are you going to do with him at this point, really?
I mean, he's got some good fights in Bellator to look forward to. So
Well, he's got some good fights to look forward to. Ironically enough, we actually got news this morning about 5:30 this morning. The story broke. Bellator actually officially from Scott Coker mentioned in a press release that while they are big fans of Yoel Romero, they are going to respectfully decline to offer him a contract.
yeah, okay.
We then found out after that, again, very similar in theme, the PFL has great respect for Yoel Romero, but no interest in offering him a contract either. Followed immediately, to the surprise of no one, by Mr. Kennedy from BKFC going, "We would love to have Yoel Romero come to our organization. Are quite confident we could get him a very lucrative and very entertaining match made if he would like to come over."
BKFC would be fun.
Yeah, I understand exactly why Bellator and PFL don't want to fucking touch Yoel at this point, because he's 44 years old, and even though he is in good shape, how many more years does he really have in him, and how much are you going to be willing to invest in him to see? Whereas you give him a decent contract for BKFC, and he's a giant ice cream cone shaped motherfucker. So all that upper body strength and Olympic wrestling agility, I imagine, will transfer very well into a ungloved fist at somebody's fucking face over in BKFC. So not what I was expecting, but not outside the realm of possibility and reality as well. So we'll see how that one shakes loose. We did get another interesting announcement from the, I guess it's kind of from the UFC world. Khabib Nurmagomedov, after confirming for the second time in a week, specifically for Dana White directly, that he is retired from the UFC, that if he does decide to compete one more time, it would not be for his championship. It would just be the GSP fight that he's been asking for like 5 fucking years now. But that he is officially done in the competitive side of things as a competitor, because he has started his own fight organization in Dagestan. The Eagle Fighting Championship has been established so that basically Khabib will be the Dana White of the organization, bringing in local talent. It's the equivalent in the Eastern Bloc section of the world to a Dana White's Contender Series style show, whereas he does not want people to come to his organization and stay. He specifically is establishing this as a springboard to the UFC. He said the model for the ideal pathway of a fighter in that region would be join the organization, win a couple fights, get yourself a title shot, win the belt, defend the belt 2 or 3 times to show that you have that ability as well, and then that transfer into a UFC contract so that the belts are constantly rotating to new and up-and-coming fighters who have at that point proven themselves legitimately ready to get into the UFC. That was weird. That just froze, and I watched it freeze from the other computer. But, you know, not that I'm any fan of Khabib's to say anything, but I do think that his idea for this plan is a much better plan than the Contender Series unto itself. We'll see if it actually works out that way, but I think the plan that he's got laid out is much better than the way that Dana White's doing the Contender Series as far as bringing new talent in. We got word yesterday afternoon that Frank Mir's 17-year-old daughter, Bella Mir, will now be competing in her second pro MMA fight this coming up 2021 year. That's going to be interesting to follow. She is already making waves in the world of grappling and jiu-jitsu, much like her daddy. She is definitely her father's daughter. So I'm very interested to see where Bella Mir's MMA career goes, because she is apparently pushing all her fucking chips into the center at 17 and ready to go full bore with this. That's potentially a very dangerous situation for the ladies' side of MMA as well. Be interesting to see how that goes out. We did actually, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little shocked, kind of befuddled, thought it was kind of bullshit till I actually went and watched the interview myself. We had, for probably, I think, the 3rd time that I can remember, an actual vocal aggravated projection from Dana White himself about bullshit judging. He actually made a point to not just say that, you know, these guys aren't doing good or that we've had some close calls. No, he actually went out and called out specifically a couple of the bad judges, citing specific instances, including a couple from last weekend, where there was, in one of the decisions, a judge gave the guy who clearly lost the fight the 29-27 victory, to which everyone watching went, wait, what the fuck did he just say? Apparently Dana White did not miss that, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back, because he legitimately said that Nevada State Athletic Commission needs to get off their ass and do something before one of these morons costs someone their career. It's almost like that exact sentiment has been echoed somewhere before, over and over and over. It sounded real familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on where I had heard something like that before. I don't know. We'll see if anything actually comes of it, but the fact that he was vehemently vocal and aggravated as fuck about it, instead of just being like, yeah, we had some shitty judging, it was nice to see Dana show a little fucking emotion in trying to get things made right.
Really wish he would name drop Sal D'Amato's name, because that dude's a fucking
I do
shitbag.
too. That fucking moron. And it's one of those things at this point that we call it almost every fucking week. You can bank if Sal D'Amato is on that card and there are judges' decisions that have to be entered, there's going to be a fuck up. That dude is like the Mr. Magoo of the fucking MMA judging world. It's laughable at this point, but we'll see if anything actually comes up. I hope it does, but we also know how Nevada Athletic Commission and Dana White go, so I'm not going to hold my breath, but we'll see. It's more than we've gotten from Dana in a long time, and I'm thankful for that.
So I just looked up a picture of Bella Mir. And there's this really creepy ass picture of her dad standing next to her shirtless, and the two of them standing right next to each other, and they look almost exactly the same. It's kind of berserk.
Yeah,
That's a really
she's gonna
creepy
be a
thing.
problem.
Oh, there's just a really creepy picture. That's all I wanted to say. Like Frank
I can see
Mir
that.
looks like a legitimately creepy dad, but I mean, like if you showed up trying to take his daughter out, and you showed up and
Right.
Frank Mir's the dude that answers the fucking door, like I might just die.
Right. I think I got the wrong house. Sorry.
Yeah.
You want her back at 10? She'll be here at 9. Fuck
Right.
you.
Should be home at 9:15.
Nope, not
Yeah.
9 o'clock sharp.
No. Bellamere is she's her daddy's daughter, and she's got some fucking potential in that girl. It's gonna be interesting to see where she goes. We did get an interesting announcement here from the, I guess it's kind of the UFC world. Well, to be fair, it was almost the UFC world news. Kickboxing phenom Chai Lewis Perry got himself a contract for the UFC and was set to make his debut in, they had a potential matchup lined up for late February that they didn't get to announce, because it was announced beforehand that Chai Lewis Perry has officially received a 4-year suspension from USADA for testing positive for not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 different steroids. And then when asked to submit a secondary sample for follow-up testing, doctored the sample he sent to USADA. If they caught you cheating, what in the actual fuck makes you think they're not going to catch you trying to actively cover up the cheating? They didn't call you in for a second sample set because they might have had a machine down or something. They knew exactly what they had. They were confirming it. And in their attempts to confirm it, they caught him trying to mask the tainted sample. That's where I don't know why that was hard. But
I bet you he tried to use pregnant lady urine.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, is he tried to use somebody else's piss for the follow-up sample, and they
I
were
bet
like,
you
are you stupid?
I bet you it's his pregnant girlfriend. He seems like one of the guys who'd be like, honey, just piss in this.
Right, just piss in this cup for me real quick. We'll be okay. Yeah.
Everything will be fine. 4 years, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Fuck that dude. Well, the interesting thing is that if they caught him doing 4 different steroids and cheating to cover that up just on his entry into the UFC, somebody better grab a magnifying glass and go look back at his last dozen or so kickboxing matches, because he's got a fucking highlight reel. Starting to kind of maybe wonder if there's a reason for that highlight reel. Like maybe he had some horse meat or some strange Mexican supplements that he couldn't provide samples of to USADA. Interesting. And it's shitty, because that was another one of those bigger names from a different branch of martial arts that would have legitimately brought over a bunch of new fans. Would have. I doubt we'll see that young man again. With a 4-year suspension like that, I'm pretty sure the UFC tomorrow, most likely, is going to have their lawyers draw up some paperwork and release that motherfucker's contract. I don't think the UFC has any interest in hanging a 4-year fucking anchor around their neck and hoping. So that sucks for him. Speaking of that sucks, though, we did get announced over the last 72 hours alone, just in the beginning of this week, 3 fights dropped off of UFC 256's rebooking again. We are now down to an almost laughably small card that they are still, for some reason, trying to split up into 3 pieces. But we'll talk about that more in just a little bit here. We do have a couple of fight announcements I want to run over real quick before we get into the fun stuff. We did get the announcement that while the PFL is still down for the 2020 season, Kayla Harrison is going to be turning right back around and getting right back into the fucking cage She has been announced for the Titan FC 66 card to step back in, but this time she's fighting at 155 pounds again, which is where she competes at PFL. The reason that makes a difference is that the whole point, she said herself, of going and doing these fights in Titan FC and these other organizations while PFL is down is to get her body more acclimated to fighting at featherweight so that she could potentially go challenge Cyborg for the Bellator 145-pound belt. That's not going to do you any fucking good if you fight at 145 one time and then go right back to 55. That's not going to tell your body anything about trying to slim down that frame. And if you comfortably fight at 55, because she says she walks around at like 165, 170 pounds, going right back to 55 after 145 fight is not going to help you get acclimated, I say with air quotes, to the smaller frame that you say that you want to try and adapt for the bigger fights that would give you the opportunity for. I'm still interested to see how the fight plays out because Kayla Harris has a fucking mean right hand on that girl. And she's one of the larger, naturally physical girls in the world of mixed martial arts. So I'm still going to watch the fight, but I don't think she's on the path that she seems to think she is on. Couple of announcements over on the UFC. But before we jump into those, we actually got one announcement and then retraction of the announcement this week that I have to say, with all the talk between John Jones and everyone else about the GOAT status argument, it was both refreshing and then immediately disheartening to find out that the actual GOAT of MMA was going to be making his triumphant return for us again. And then we found out that Arena Fight 2 in Paris had actually been called off. So we will not get to see the true GOAT of MMA, Artem Floaty Lobov, back in the octagon just quite yet. However, they have announced they are eyeballing February 2021 to put the entire card as it was originally scheduled back on, because then everyone would have enough time to, relax, de-stress from camp, and then get back into camp over the beginning of next year, and should be great. So the real GOAT of MMA is coming back, and John can just sit his fucking ass down and shut his mouth. But like I said, we did get some UFC announcements that are going to be playing out pretty interesting here. Coming fresh off of the most embarrassing mustache wriggle we've seen in slow motion in a long time, Eddie Wineland has officially gotten back up to get on the horse here. We find out that he is stepping back in against John Castaneda on February 20th. I genuinely hope to see that the fucking sugar slap that he took to the mouth did not permanently affect him, and I would like to see him and that ridiculous Wyatt or handlebar mustache get back on the proverbial horse, as it were. John Castaneda is not going to be an easy day out for him because he, in my opinion, is much more talented than fucking O'Malley is, but I think Eddie still has a little bit of potential in him. If not, this is going to be his walking papers fight, though. So we'll see when we get a little closer to that, how the two of them have been looking in the meanwhile. We did find out that next month, the highly anticipated matchup of Michelle Waterson and Amanda Hebus, possibly two of the most adorable fucking fighters the UFC has on the roster, is off. Michelle Waterson has officially withdrawn from the match with no reason given whatsoever. The interesting thing about that announcement is that literally within 6 hours of them announcing that Michelle was out, they had already announced that they have found a replacement, and UFC 257 will not lose the Amanda Hebus fight. Stepping in to replace Michelle Waterson will be Marina Rodriguez.
That's actually an interesting fight.
Yeah, I think realistically, for the division's sake at least,
Yeah,
that's a better fight. Like, that's a more relevant fight, at least for the division's sake. Like,
Yeah.
Not to say Waterson versus Hebus wouldn't be fucking awesome to watch and entertaining as shit, but I think Hebus versus Rodriguez actually has a little more implication in the division going forward.
I concur.
Plus, those two gals are both bouncy as fuck, and that's gonna be fun, I think.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a fun one to watch too.
Well, you know what Hebus is going to try and do? Turn it into another bloodbath.
Yeah, you know, she loves it, man. That smile and that squeak giggle that she gets when she realizes she has someone else's blood on her.
Yep.
It's a thing. What are you gonna do? Interesting news we did get was it yesterday? No, I think it was Tuesday, I believe. Despite all the talks that we had heard multiple times now that it was going to be heavyweight, it was going to be 205, it was going to be heavyweight, it was going to be 205, he's coming back regardless. We actually got news that Anthony Rumble Johnson had decided to sign, instead of coming back to the UFC, with Bellator. Set to make his debut, they are saying, in late February, early March in the light heavyweight division. They're saying now they're probably going to give him one tune-up fight, and if he wins, he will be challenging Ryan Bader for that fucking belt. So good luck, Bellator. I will say this: if Rumble has not been taking his shit seriously, this is going to be a short-lived stint for him. Anybody who saw him when he left the UFC and then was doing bodyguard work or security work for BKFC and doing his GNC supplement promoted powerlifting, he got to like 300 something fucking pounds and was goddamn yoked. To try and squeeze that physique back down to 205 is gonna be a tough call. Like, he's going to have to lose muscle mass to get his body back down to 205. So if he can do it, you fucking 205 boys in Bellator better watch the fuck out. If not, I don't think we see more than 2-3 tops fight from him in Bellator before even they cut him loose. But we'll see. It's Rumble, so as long as they don't let DC over, I think he should be okay. Couple of interesting fights coming up beginning of 2021 have been announced. Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo. Coconut Bombs back in a fucking octagon here. UFC 258, February 13th. They're talking about making that potentially the premier prelim fight matchup so they can get him the extra eyes that those premier fights tend to bring.
That'd be fun.
I'm down, man. I think that's a fucking great matchup. I really fucking do. Pushing right along on the pay-per-view stack-ups for March 6th, UFC 259 card. This one, I've got mixed feelings about this fight. Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny.
This is good. Yeah.
I'm half excited to see Dominic Cruz get back in there. I'm half scared that he's just going to be deteriorating more and more every time we see him because he's had 93 fucking surgeries since the last time he was in the octagon.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, like, I have not been quiet about it and I will not be quiet about it. I think Casey Kenny is riding a lot on the coattails of nothing. I do not believe we have seen anything from that young man in the least bit fucking impressive, least of all enough to make him or give him the opportunity for that quick turnaround he just got and then put on another lackluster performance and now put him on a pay-per-view card against somebody like Dominic Cruz. I don't get it. The fuck, man. Like, I don't know. Hopefully as we get a little closer to that, we get some social media footage from both of them and get a better idea of why we should get excited about that fight. Because as of right now, I'm really not. But I'm interested to see how that one would play out. Just because, what the fuck? We do have a couple of interesting announcements that were just came out this afternoon. A federal judge has officially cleared the go forward for a class action lawsuit against the UFC for anyone who fought, for anyone who fought for the UFC from all the way back to 2007. There are a couple of different angles to the lawsuit, anti-competition clauses, financial fuckery in there. It's interesting. It looks like this one may actually have a little bit of teeth here. I know Mark Hunt talked for a long time about setting up a class action lawsuit, but Mark Hunt to his credit, talks about doing a lot of things all the time and doesn't necessarily follow through the most. Someone else, on the other hand, does have this class action lawsuit going through in federal courts and has been given the go ahead. So that one is going to be interesting to keep an eye on and see how.
Do we
that
have a
shakes
list
loose,
who
'cause
the
that could
main
have-
plaintiffs are?
No, that's actually what I was looking for a little bit earlier, to see who the main plaintiff filing the case itself are. It has
Okay.
not officially been released just yet, but class action
Alright.
lawsuits mean public information, so
Yeah.
it's only a matter of time.
I mean, it's probably the UFC is probably going to pay out on this one.
Yeah,
There'll be a settlement of some
They're
sort.
gonna have to almost, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. See how deep that fucking pocketbook has to go for it to get that one to calm down, to quell the fighters union talk, as it were.
I mean, do we get back into this? Because we talked about this a couple weeks ago and we went on and on and on about it. But
I know. I think this is going to have an impact directly on that. I think this class action suit and what they end up settling for, if they choose to go settle it, which they probably will, I think it's going to have an impact on how that fighters union talk rolls over in 2021. But we'll see. Could just be another, 3 disgruntled assholes that they write a fucking $250,000 check to and they disappear. You never know. Stranger things have happened. We do have an announcement for BKFC 16. I apologize. Going off tomorrow evening. As with most things that we talk about, goddamn Backstreet Boys can't let us have nothing nice yet. The cancellation of that tour is in works, but as of now, they are still running rampant, and they have gotten to the majority of the things that had some semblance of excitement for me. It's still going to be an interesting card. I have yet to see a BKFC event that doesn't have some great fucking matches come out of it. This one just isn't going to have any real big household names on it anymore, thanks to fucking Backstreet Boys. But we do have a BKFC card tomorrow night if you are looking for more punchy kicky this weekend. Alimale McFarlane is currently putting the fucking smackdown on, or about to put the smackdown rather, on Juliana Velasquez over in Bellator 256 right now. We also did get the official confirmation this afternoon from Dana White himself. UFC's first, he said, because again, they're going to try and, depending on how everything shakes loose, possibly have multiple runs over there. But the first Fight Island run of 2021 has been confirmed. We are looking at 3 shows over there, but not spread out like the last ones were. We're going back to the way they originally did the first tour on Fight Island. We will have a 3-show Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday configuration here. So it will be January the 17th, then January the 20th, and then following that up with UFC 257 on January 23rd for McGregor Poirier 2. That, as you folks may know by this point, means you will have a Combat Compatriot stream on January 20th's card. Wednesday nights means we can live commentate, so we're going to try and do that. The interesting thing about the Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday configuration that they have announced is that they also, in doing so, announced the headline fight for that January 20th Wednesday night card that we will be able to commentate for. One Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards. They have officially rebooked the fight, and it will be the headline fight for that Wednesday night card.
there we go.
I'm not mad at that either.
I'm not mad. Yeah, I'm not mad at that fight. Every
I-
time we see Khamzat Chimaev, we see something new.
Yeah, he's yet to
Looking forward to
not
it.
impress.
Right. Is there a way you can knock someone out and submit them at the exact same time? Let's see if he can
Right,
figure
like a
it
2
out.
for 1.
Can we figure he's tapping as he goes down?
Okay. So, and then, like I kind of led to earlier, 256 for the Saturday has just been taking hit after hit after hit. It actually took another one just about 2 hours ago. We learned that Sergey Spivak is officially out. He himself has now got himself a ticket to the Backstreet Boys literally 2 days before his fucking fight. So another fight, as if the 3 that fell off yesterday weren't enough. We lost the Spivak fight again today. So that is officially off. And as of right now, no plans to rebook that fight because he was just going to be making or helping a gentleman make his debut into the UFC. It wasn't really a big, impactful or hyped up fight or anything. So again, wish him speedy recovery, but we'll see how the polar bear gets back into the cage in 2021 because at this point, ain't a lot of room for a turnaround. Sorry, pal. Did kind of mention earlier, Bellator 254 going on right now. They're actually getting ready to walk out Ilima McFarlane. They did open the card, however, with a fucking spectacular matchup to get people's attention. Hobson Gracie Jr. was the opening fight. Boy, did that not go how I think anyone expected it to. We talk a lot about how the next generation of Gracies are very much not the traditional Gracies and that they are the adapted, well-rounded fighters. They don't only bank on their jiu-jitsu. And then there was Hobson Jr. That young man completely banked on his jiu-jitsu and did not put nearly as much time and effort into his boxing training as his cousin Neiman does. And it cost him his consciousness. He got pieced the fuck up on his feet, got a takedown attempt denied by a gentleman who is not a jiu-jitsu practitioner and not bad, but not a great grappler to begin with. Yeah, Hobson got fucking knocked out to open the fucking card up. We will see how this Ilima McFarlane fight goes as we get into our talks here in just a little bit. But just before we went on the air, that's part of the reason we actually were running a little bit late today is because we were watching the end of the Linton Vassell versus Ronnie Marks fight. I fucking told you guys, I'm fucking telling you again, Linton Vassell is heading back for that fucking belt over there, man. Ronnie Marks, to be fair, had been out of the octagon for over 1,000 days at this point before we came into the fight today. But to his credit, that's not entirely his fault. He's been trying to get back into the fucking octagon. Was originally scheduled to fight Josh Barnett in January. He got himself a ticket. That fight was scratched. Then it was booked to fight Matt Mitrione in April. That fight ended up getting scrapped. Took the fight tonight against Linton Vassell. I told you I didn't think it was a good matchup for him. Sure the fuck enough, LDV proved me right. Big Swarm put fucking work in and just kept Ronnie Marks on the ground and had fucking elbows and had fucking rib punches and just fucking battered him. I'm honestly kind of surprised the referee let it go as long as he did because LDV just had control of that fucking fight from start to finish. But go Big Swarm. Fucking knew that shit was coming, but it was still fucking beautiful to watch. That being said, now that we have got the championship going on over there, that will bring us to the reason for the season for this particular episode here, our namesake marquee title holder, UFC 256, Figueiredo versus Moreno. The one thing, the saving grace, if you will, at this point, for this UFC 256 card that was originally slated to be Amanda Nunes's potential last fight at 145 pounds before that went out the window, is now trying, in an attempt to reclaim some of the hype that it once had on it, to be another historic version of a card in the quickest turnaround title fight by any UFC champion in any division in UFC history. Deiveson Figueiredo, who we just saw make fucking short work of Alex Perez just 2 weeks ago, steps back into the octagon for the quickest title turnaround in history Saturday night to take on the number one contender, I say with air quotes, in Brandon Moreno, who won his fight, I say in air quotes, last weekend against Brandon Royval, but we'll get into that a little bit later. The thing about this card is that, like I said, it's just been getting whittled away and whittled away and whittled away. And they have completely rebuilt it twice at this point. And even the third iteration of this card is still getting chopped away. We lost Spivak 2 hours ago. It's still getting whittled away. What that has left us with is a 1 fight early prelim card, I say with air quotes. Why? Why not just put the 1 fight on the fucking regular prelims? You don't need an early prelim card with a single fight on it. That's fucking silly.
Well,
To be fair, that 1 fight is Ben Askren Jr. himself, Chase Hooper. But it's a 1 fight card.
See, I think by the time Saturday rolls around, it is just going to be the title fight. That is my over under bet.
Yeah, because those are the only 2 that I'd be willing to bet aren't going to fall out between now and then.
No, they're going to stay in their hotel rooms. But yeah, that's
So-
going to be. Anyway, we'll wait for that.
Yeah, no, the Chase Hooper fight is going to be interesting, but again, Askren Jr. is still unranked at this point. I think he's ranked like 24 or something like that. He's not into the tracked rankings yet, and he's fighting a dude who's making his debut. So I'm anticipating it to be more of a Chase Hooper clinic than anything, but I don't think it's going to be terribly, terribly violent.
That depends on whether Chase Hooper has worked on his stand-up or not, because, man, his stand-up is still fucking trash.
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm saying I don't think it's going to be terribly violent. I think Chase is going to want to try and get it to the ground and
Although,
use those 9.5 foot long fucking limbs of his.
he does have some amazing fucking ground and pound, though. For a guy who has no stand-up, his ground and pound is fucking excellent.
Well, yeah, because at that point, he's got all the leverage with those fucking 9 foot arms.
Throw some nasty elbows, though, front and on the ground. Oof.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. But like I said, with so many fucking fights getting whittled off left and right on this card, the prelim itself is now a 4 fight card. And even then, it's not 4 great fights at that. Tisha Torres, to be fair, decided to stay on this fucking card when Hill and Hill's replacement both bounced off, and they gave her a literal no-name debut maker on short notice. Props to Tisha for sticking in there like a fucking OG. Should be, again, an interesting fight, but I don't anticipate it being terribly exciting because we don't know anything about the fucking new girl, and Tisha had 0 time to train for her. So we'll see how that one shakes loose. Gavin Tucker versus Billy Q. Prospects, again, young prospects, could be interesting, but at this point, neither one of those 2 gentlemen have really given us anything to get too fucking terribly excited about. Following suit, cards of a fucking spade here. Renato Moicano at 55 now, which is legitimately exciting until you realize that they're giving him Rafael Fiziev. Exactly. No one knows that fucking name. That everyone just had that same blank. Who? Look, and I'm looking at you through the camera at people at home watching this. I can see you. Those of you who are listening to this in the all audio version next week, no one knows who the fuck Rafael Fiziev is yet, because he's literally just made his fucking debut into the UFC and isn't a name worthy of someone like Renato Moicano, who is trying to make himself established at 55. Again, I anticipate this to be a Moicano show. Sorry, Fiziev. Prove me wrong. But I can't say it's the most disappointing, but it's definitely one of the more disappointing things left on this card is that usually I say, most of these pay-per-view cards we've seen, at least during 2020, gives you a decent fucking prelim premier fight to kick off right before they open you up to the main card. We don't get that this time. We get Cub Swanson versus Daniel Pineda. Cub Swanson actually talked during this week's press run, the virtual media day, about how he likes this fight not because of who the opponent is, not because of when the fight is, not because of where the fight is taking place, but because this is the first fight he has had since the UFC had him removed from the rankings. He said he actually petitioned to have them do it, but they wouldn't. They said they had to, quote unquote, let him fall out on his own if that's the way things were going to go. he seems to think that having no number next to his name is going to alleviate some of that pressure that apparently he puts on the back of his own mind. And it's going to leave him a little more free and a little more open to work in the octagon. I'm not mad at that philosophy, that idea. I just don't know if at this point in his career, there's realistically enough left in the Cub Swanson gas tank to do that and be impressive against a young up-and-comer like this when, you know, credit where credit is due. Hats the fuck off to you, Cub Swanson. You've been around for a long goddamn time. You've been a staple of this fucking sport. But you're on the receiving end of so many fucking highlight reel finishes at this point. Those highway miles add up, man. This is another situation where I like Cub Swanson, but I can't help but think that he's riding a cart up towards fucking 18 and eyeballing the doors on the fucking clubhouse across the way at this point. I think if Pineda gets the best of him here, this could be Cub Swanson getting added to that list of 60. I don't want to see it go that way, but at this point, Cub Swanson hasn't given me a whole lot of reason to think that's not exactly how it's going to play out either.
Yeah. The last time I remember seeing Pineda was him taking out Herbert Burns. That's the last thing I remember.
Which
And
says
if
something
that's
unto
the,
itself.
and it was pretty fucking decisive.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if that's
and
my
we know
last,
we know what Burns is capable of too. So
yeah, exactly. And if that's the last thing I remember, I'm probably going to pick you if you're taking out one of the Burns brothers pretty decisively. Yeah. So Pineda, I mean, I know what Cub Swanson's going to try and force this to a decision. Like he's gonna keep moving and hope to pile up points. I just don't know if he can keep moving well enough against Daniel Pineda at this point. So my pick is going to be Daniel Pineda.
Yeah, Cub Swanson's too long in the tooth. Look, I like his mindset of maybe I won't have the pressure from having a number behind my name. Dude, you don't need to have pressure anymore, man. You've been around this sport long enough. At this point, you've got nothing left to prove. You've been a consummate professional. Fucking, he's put on some of the greatest wars you've ever seen during his prime. He's well past his prime now. I'm putting it out there. Fucking fight me, please. But he's well past it, dude. There's nothing to prove at this point for him. At this point, this is just a paycheck. As much as I hate to say this is a paycheck, and I loved Cub in his fucking prime and watching the fights he would put on. Now he's flash in the pan. It's when am I going to see him hang up the gloves or go out on a gurney? Because the way things are going, that's how it's looked lately. I mean, yeah, I'm with you on watching the Herbert Burns knockout, because I think Pineda got him in the second round, if I remember that fight correctly.
So yeah.
And that's nothing to shake a stick at. So I mean, I have to give it to Pineda here. I don't think the aging Cub Swanson can do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is a wily veteran, and we've seen some strange things out of wily veterans as of late. So that's where the only reason I would have to give him some sort of credit here. But
Credit, yeah.
I don't think he gets it done. And I don't see this going to decision either. If he knocked out Herbert Burns, he can definitely knock out Cub Swanson.
Man, both these guys, their last 6 fights, both of them have won 2. The only difference is that Pineda's actually gotten a fucking stoppage, which the grace of God out of that situation, it was against fucking Burns. He knocked out Burns. He's not gonna have a problem like knocking out a fucking slippery slope fucking riding Cub Swanson. Cub hasn't done shit in like fucking like notable in years, like highlight worthy shit in years. This is that shit or get off of the pot moment. both of you are looking at the same fucking setup. Last 6 fights, both have only won 2. I'm going fucking Pineda because he at least has done something to make himself better with getting his fucking Burns knockout victory.
Right.
He's at least doing something better.
Got something to talk about at least. Yeah, I agree. So that being said, that will bring us over into the main card itself. And now I will say, as much as this card has just been bent over and used for what it was fucking worth multiple times now, to their credit, the UFC still did manage to keep a pretty decent, I'm not going to say great, I will say decent main card put together for this. Personally, you could not fucking break enough of my limbs and bones to get me to pay $70 for this fucking card. But there are plenty of people out there who will. So for those of you, we will give you a full main card breakdown here. They will open this card with one of the most interesting matchups, for me at least, on the card itself. Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Gahn. Junior Dos Santos, to his credit, much like many of the other wily veterans that are still clinging around, has looked pretty fucking good lately. A lot better than he did when he first made his initial return back to MMA. But I don't know that we've got enough of that old war JDS that was a problem for this division still left in that guy that's going to come out there Saturday night to stop Francis Ngannou's training partner. This guy has been going full blort, taking shots to the dome from Francis Ngannou for years now. He has been Francis's training partner since they were back in France, since before he came to the States to be part of the UFC and join the MMA world officially when he was still just boxing and competing in, local things in France. Cyril Gahn is very much a representation, a reflection of the work that Francis Ngannou has put in. The difference, in my opinion, is that Cyril Gahn puts a little more emphasis and a little more effort into his wrestling and his grappling ability. That, in my opinion, is where Francis could actually probably take a page out of his book, because we have also seen Cyril Gahn has that one-shot stopping power. Maybe not to the same degree as Francis, but in that same vein of, if they hit you, oh shit's the only thing that goes through your brain, right behind his fist. But can't have nice things. We know for a fact that JDS has a well-rounded toolbox. The problem is, we also know he has a questionable chin. And when you're talking about putting that questionable chin up against a dude who's been training with Francis fucking Ngannou for years now, I gotta worry. That being said, I still think the well-roundedness of JDS is going to be able to get away from the power shots that Cyril Gahn is going to try and throw. I think JDS takes it, but man, only if he can keep from catching one directly to the fucking moneymaker.
My favorite quote I saw about this fight this week, as I was looking stuff over, is that unless JDS has developed an expert wrestling game and has been waiting 10 years to spring it on the right opponent, and that right opponent has to be Cyril Gahn, that the way this is probably going to go down is this is probably going to go down as a stoppage. I think Cyril Gahn is way too fucking smooth. And I think he's way too precise for the game that JDS brings at this point. I mean, there's always that wily ass fucking veteran's chance he snuck a brick into the ring and clocks him with it. There's always that. but the way I tend to agree with what I've been seeing. I think Cyril Gahn is younger. I think he's smoother. I think he's got, I mean, just the experience of training with Francis Ngannou probably puts him ahead of a lot of the heavyweights in the division. So, yeah, my pick Cyril Gahn on this one. I think he's probably going to stop JDS.
I only have a couple words to say on this because we've watched JDS's last three. He's lost 3 of his last 4 via knockout. All I can say is get a pillow ready because he's going to sleep. Much as I love that old motherfucker, it's time for him to hang it up. His chin is way more than suspect at this point. He's Glass Joe and first level of fucking Punch Out. Like, it's time for him to go. Hang him up, dude. You have nothing to prove at this point. You have a fucking legacy. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter. At this point, all he's doing is ruining his longevity of life right now. Somebody get that dude a pillow. Put him down softly because he's going to sleep.
Yeah, fucking JDS hasn't won a fight since fucking 2018. I mean, Gahn only has one actual fight. Well, not one. He has a couple professional fights. What, 1 or 2 in the UFC?
Yeah, I think 2 now at this point.
With who he trains with and with the tape that he puts out, I'm picking Gahn over fucking JDS.
Absolutely understandable. Like I said, if JDS can get around the power, he's got a chance. Problem is, you got to hide your chin to do that. And Cyril Gahn's good at hunting for that fucking chin, and he's got the power to fucking touch it. And we know that chin is suspect to begin with, so may the odds be ever in your favor, Sagano. But I don't know that we're not going to hear cannon fire and see his picture in the sky come Saturday night. That will bring us to possibly the most infuriating fight for me on this whole fucking card. Part of the last week's worth of fuckery involved this matchup right here. This was originally set to be Marvin Victori versus Jacare Souza. We learned last week that Kevin Holland got himself a ticket to the Backstreet Boys, so they pulled him off that card that he was originally going to headline against Hermansen last week as the 3rd replacement for that fight. But in pulling him out of the 3rd replacement for the main event last week, they just switched him with Victori in the match for this week. So we saw Victori in the main event last weekend, who was supposed to be here. And now we've got Kevin Holland, who couldn't fight last weekend because he had himself some Rona. Now, all of a sudden, back to fight Jacare this weekend, and has been talking nothing but shit for the last week about how he's going to be the alligator hunter. I say with air quotes for those of you listening. I won't say that I don't like Kevin Holland, because he definitely has some skills. The problem for Kevin Holland is that he also has a mouth that he just can't keep shut. He's got verbal diarrhea so fucking bad. I wish someone would slingshot some Imodium AD straight in his fucking cocksucker every time it opens up, because every time those lips separate, shit just falls out, and it's almost always the most ridiculous and asinine shit coming out of his fucking mouth. It drives me insane. If he spent half as much time focused on training as he does talking shit about everyone under the fucking sun, he would legitimately be one of the baddest men in the UFC. That's not what we fucking see, though. We see some flashes of greatness and then a lot of gum bumping. A lot of gum bumping. Darren Stewart took him through the fucking spin cycle, and thanks to shitty judging, he still ended up walking out of that with a fucking W. He thinks he's going to submit Jacare Sosa. He said he's not looking for the knockout. He wants to submit Jacare Sosa. He wants to take it to the ground and submit the alligator. I admire aspiration. I admire aiming for the stars because at this point, that's exactly what you're doing. The problem with aiming for the stars is sometimes if you aim too high, that fucking bullet comes straight back down on your goddamn head. That's exactly what Kevin Holland's doing here. He's shooting straight up in the fucking air and the bullet's coming straight down at the top of his fucking dome. Like I said, I admire the aspiration, but to think that you as a fucking new guy with nothing behind your name to give anyone any reason to think that you could do it is going to go in and submit Jacare. Now you're just sounding dumb. And I think Jacare is going to choke you the fuck out if you stick with that game plan. And I hope he does, because I would love to see Jacare put that motherfucker to sleep.
This one, if Kevin Holland actually put 10 seconds worth of thought into this fight, he could probably win it. If he just threw fists with Jacare, like, he would probably win this fight. If he's stupid enough, if that man is stupid enough to try and take something to the ground with Jacare Souza, like, it's not going to end well for the young man. And Jacare, he's getting pretty long in the tooth, slowing down a little bit. He's still got his power. Last thing to go is always that power.
Yeah.
And we've seen it several times recently with Jacare Souza just unleashing on people. But Kevin Holland's rangy enough, he's long enough, he's quick enough that if he decided to play that game and just stay in a striking battle with Souza, he'd probably win this fight. If he legitimately thinks that he could take Jacare Souza to the ground and submit him, he's not going to win this fight, period. Like, that Jacare's path to success on this fight is get Kevin Holland on the ground or get taken to the ground by Kevin Holland and then work your game. If it stays on the feet, Kevin Holland's going to win this fight. I'm interested to see if this is just him throwing a strategy out there, saying that he's going to submit him, and then just stays and strikes. Because if he does that, he'll win this fight. So if it's on the feet, it's Kevin Holland. If it's on the ground, Souza. I quite frankly think Kevin Holland's dumb enough to try and take this to the ground. He's a very talented fighter. Like, I can't take anything too much away about his skill, but he is not the smartest man, if you will. So I think it's going to be I think Jacare Souza by submission. I think Kevin Holland's going to come to and see Jacare with his arm up. So it's my pick for the fight.
Kevin Holland needs to shut his fucking mouth and stop overlooking fighters. He's already, who do you call out? Fucking Brunson already? This week I'm going, come on, man. Shut the fuck up. Do your job. Don't look past a veteran that's the caliber of Jacare. You're getting this fight on short notice, so you didn't get a full chance to train for him. And you're talking about taking him to town and fucking submitting him? They don't go like this for no fucking reason. That dude has a gnarly fucking grip, man. You better keep it on the feet, man, if you want to win. And even if you keep it on the feet, that's not a fucking guarantee. I'll say it. To be honest, I think Holland's going to get beat here because he's overlooking Jacare, and that wily veteran's going to get a piece of him.
It's certainly a possibility that Jacare just an overhand right when you least expect it, just knock him the fuck out. So
it blows my mind when I see stuff like that, and the way that He's literally got diarrhea of the mouth right now with the way he's looking past him and talking about how he's ready to punch everybody else in the division. Dude, shut your fucking mouth and go fight. You're going in on short notice against one of the fucking craftiest fucking veterans out there. It's not a good look saying stupid shit like that. But yeah.
And the thing is, like, if he would be like laser focused, like if Kevin Holland was laser focused on his opponent and had a fucking game plan going in, like, you know for a fact the kid's talented enough to pull it off. That's the thing that's really infuriating, because he'll talk this trash, and theoretically he could certainly back it up, but
Well,
he just does dumb shit every time. Like every time I've seen Kevin Holland fight this year, and this will be like the 15th fucking time we've seen him fight this year. Like, he'll just do something fucking stupid. And overlooking Jacare Souza is incredibly fucking stupid. Thinking that you can hang on the ground with somebody like Jacare Souza is incredibly fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's a white belt going to take on a black belt, basically.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, don't get me wrong. You have legitimate talent, but not to that effect. I mean, it's that know your place. That's all I can say is know your fucking place.
I believe this is a perfect example of, as the older generation likes to say, that puppy dog ass overrunning that bulldog mouth of yours, and the animal catcher is on his way. So,
You know, right now, this is the perfect time to say this. He literally has an alligator mouth, and it may overload his canary ass.
absolutely, quite literally. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I genuinely hope that Kevin Holland gets a little fucking slice of humble pie. I thought the Darren Stewart fight would have given it to him when even he said that he knew he didn't win, but that faded real fucking quick. So hopefully he is dumb enough that he really wants to go in there and try and take Jacare to the ground and thinks that he's got a chance, and then he gets schooled. I think he needs it.
I think it's gonna be fucking hilarious. Watching Holland getting choked the fuck out.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is that, wait, what the fuck? Look, it's going to come on his face as Jacare just locks that grip up. As you see the squeeze start to come in, and then Kevin Holland just gets that, oh shit. We've seen the looks, and I want to see it on Kevin Holland's face. That being said, though, that will lead us into the most not interesting people's co-main events fights that they put on this card. He expects to take the fight from the girl, but she's not the most dangerous on the ground like she is. So this fight gonna be most interesting for some people in Brazil to be watching this fight and see her the future champion.
What the fuck?
Mackenzie Dern versus Verna Yonderoba. We know every time they put Dern in the octagon, two things are going to happen. One, she's going to try and get the fight to the ground because she doesn't have stand up to fucking punch her way out of a wet paper bag. And two, she's going to use multiple different accent changes, whether she wins or loses, when she talks in the post-fight interview. The over-under on Mackenzie Dern fights are more often more interesting on how many accent changes she will have during the press than how her chances of winning the fight are going to actually play out. To be fair, much like the last, all of them that they have put Mackenzie Dern in, she is the head and shoulders clear fucking favorite in terms of the jiu-jitsu in this matchup. And if used properly, it should be enough to make this a really short match. If used properly, maybe properly isn't even the right word. If used intelligently, the jiu-jitsu factor could make this a very short match. But therein lies the problem. You can't use the words Mackenzie Dern and intelligently in the same fucking sentence. It's oil and water. Magnets of opposite polarity. Just dink. Not gonna fucking happen here. Same polarity. You meant what I knew. This fight goes one of two ways. Either Mackenzie is going to play the Kevin Holland card here and just try to get this fight to the ground so she can wrap it up and end it quick. Or she's going to try and show that she is, quote unquote, a well-rounded fighter worth the respect she doesn't get. And then Yoruba knocks her the fuck out because Yoruba's got quick, precise hands. I have a feeling, because this is the way these fights have been fucking leading towards, that Yonderoba's going to make a mistake. It's going to end up on the ground, and Dern's going to get a sloppy submission. I'm hoping it's going to go the other way around, and Dern's going to get sloppy, and Yonderoba's going to get a nice knockout. I don't know that it's going to go that way, but that's what I'm hoping for. Realistically, it's probably going to be a Dern submission because they love throwing girls who have no fucking jiu-jitsu against the jiu-jitsu black belt, specifically to let her get these type of submissions. So I have a feeling that's how it's actually going to end up. But in my black little heart of hearts, I'm hoping Yonderoba gets a nice clean dink, ends it for us.
I think Yonderoba will probably be able to hold her off for about a round.
Yeah.
And then she'll get spiked against the cage, like inevitably happens. And then the game's over. And then we'll get to see the most exciting part of a Mackenzie Dern fight when she gets up and starts strutting some dance moves in the ring.
Right.
That's about the most exciting thing about a Mackenzie Dern fight. There's always the off chance she gets her clock turned off. I just don't think it's going to happen. Yonderoba's got some quick hands, but I think Mackenzie Dern she'll take a couple of shots and then she's going to press this against the cage. And the second it gets there, this sort of fight, this fight just kind of goes out the window. So, yeah, I'm picking. I think Mackenzie Dern will probably take her out in the second. I don't think she can get her in the first. I think she'll push her against the cage and wear her out, throw some sloppy knees, some sloppy shots in the clinch, and generally take that part of the game away from Yonderoba. And then the second round, she'll have her a little bit worn out and she'll be able to take her to the ground and work her a little bit more. And next thing you know, some sort of a submission will come about. But I kind of figure. And then I think the over under on her accent changes during the interview. I think last time it was like 13. I think she's going to go for a new record of 17.
Oh, shit. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not. It's absolutely possible.
I haven't heard her work out like a really nice Southern drawl yet. So I think that part of her game, I think it's coming.
That could be the wild card. I mean, she was technically raised in Southern America, not South America, Southern United States America. So you never know.
Oh, that's going to be a shit show. Yonderoba's got 5 minutes.
Can she break out a y'all?
Right.
All I can say, 5 minutes. That's all Yonderoba's got for this fight. If she can get her beat in 5 minutes, that's it. If it goes past the first round, she loses. And then we have to watch this shit show. And then watch Mackenzie get another fight she doesn't deserve. Moving along.
I don't know. I'm leaning a little bit on the opposite direction. I'm playing heel on this. One, because I fucking hate Mackenzie Dern. Two, how the fuck are you going to bring Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu against somebody who's a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from Brazil? Good luck playing that card, motherfucker. Yonderoba hasn't really shown off a lot of her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like fucking capabilities. She like 2 of her victories in the UFC have come from submission. So she does understand what the fuck she's doing whenever you're taken down to the ground, because one of those, she was taken down to the ground, did a beautiful fucking flip reversal, and proceeded to fucking armbar somebody. I'm not gonna fucking say that. And then you have Mackenzie Dern, who is good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but whenever she puts somebody to the ground, it's very sloppy, and you can get the fuck out of any of her submissions if you just understand what the submission is doing and you understand how to roll out of them. It's not that hard to like just get away from Dern's submission game. It's not hard. Dern has a lot of holes in her only fucking thing that she has going for her, which is her ground game. That's all she has. And there's a lot of holes in it.
I agree. Well, the good thing is that after that shit show is over, it's just excitement for the rest of the card. Albeit there's only 2 more fights, but it's excitement for the rest of the card. So there is that. That brings us into the actual co-main event, the fancy whipped, truffle-topped, chive-sprinkled potato platter that is our co-main event in this particular pay-per-view UFC 256 card. One, Tony El Kukui Ferguson versus the current submission record holder, Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. I want to start by saying this. Had this fight taken place 5 years ago, I have no doubt in my mind there would never have been a Khabib versus Tony hype train, period. It would have never fucking happened. Tony in his prime versus Charles Oliveira would have been a better matchup than Tony versus Khabib could have fucking ever dreamed of being. Because Oliveira is so fucking well-rounded. It's like his skin is made of motor oil. The dude is just walking slickness. And Tony, in his prime, was the exact same fucking thing. You couldn't catch Tony in an awkward or an uncomfortable or an unworkable position because anywhere you put him, ground, feet, fence, didn't fucking matter. Tony had a way to get squirrely and get crazy and throw something out of left field at you that would take you out of your fucking element and give him complete fucking control of the match. The problem is that's not the Tony that's going to be stepping into that cage Saturday night. That Tony hasn't been in the cage since he had his mental breakdown, locked his girlfriend in a fucking closet and took his kid on a high-speed chase from the police. That Tony hasn't been the same since he wore his fucking sunglasses inside and tripped over a fucking cable in a Fox News studio and tore his fucking knee apart. That Tony didn't show up in that fucking Pettis fight where he came back after this devastating knee injury and tried to show that he is still the same. That Tony hasn't been there in the last 5 years. The problem is Charles Do Bronx Oliveira has been doing nothing but sharpening his fucking blade every single match we have seen him out there, essentially since he signed with the fucking UFC. It is no slouch to be holding a tie with Cowboy Cerrone for most finishes in the UFC. It is nothing to shake a stick at to be over Cowboy Cerrone and having the most submission finish victories in the UFC. But it is something that Charles Oliveira isn't even in the conversation for the top of that division for some fucking reason. This man has been quietly and smooth as a baby's ass, just been choking and knocking his way the fuck through everyone in this division on his way to the top. And for whatever fucking reason has not gotten but a tiniest little increment of the spotlight that he legitimately deserves for doing so. This man has a highlight reel that highlight reels get jealous of. The UFC put out a video this week specifically just of the top 7 finishes of Charles Oliveira. There's not one in that fucking video that doesn't make you go, oh shit. This man is good. He's not just good. He's focused and he's good. He knows what he's capable of. He knows He's being written off. He knows the UFC basically disregards him, and he knows that Tony is completely overlooking him on his path to try and get back to the top. And I'm telling you right here and right fucking now, do not overlook Charles Oliveira. Tony Saturday is not the Tony that everyone wants to see. That Tony is gone. The problem is Tony doesn't realize that. Charles does. Oliveira by submission, 3rd round.
3rd round, huh? I don't know if it'll take that long. I completely agree with everything you say. Tony Ferguson has made it pretty clear the last couple fights that he's been in that he is not the same dude. He is not the same dude that he used to be. He's still crazy enough to do just about anything in the octagon. Like he'll throw some sort of wild capoeira kick at you. He'll do anything that he can to to win a fight. The problem is every time I've seen Charles Oliveira over the last how long is it? It's probably been 3 years since he's lost a fight.
Yeah, at least 3 years. Shit.
Probably about 3 years that he's lost a fight.
2017 versus Felder.
Yeah,
he lost one to Felder, and I mean losing one to Felder.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. Yeah, Cowboy has looked sharp every single time. He is laser focused on what's in front of him. He doesn't give a shit what his ranking says. He's long overdue for a title fight. I think this might be the one that catapults him up there finally to get him his title fight. So, yeah, I think Cowboy's riding old Tony right to a title fight on this one. So, I don't even think it'll last 3. I don't even think it'll last 3. I think Tony will do something stupid in the end of the 1st. I think Tony will try something silly and get caught, and that'll be game. So
that's a possibility, and that's a stupid thing to do against Oliveira when you're not sweaty yet, and he can still get a fucking vice grip on you.
Yep.
Because to be fair, Tony is that 10th planet motherfucker. Like he's been Eddie Bravo's protege for a long time, and that's nothing to sneeze at. But
we're talking about the dude who's tied for the most finishes in UFC history.
Exactly.
And he's not like it's not like he's an older fighter. Like he's still relatively young. Yep. So yeah, here comes another finish, because that's all this dude does is finish. So
there's 2 opportunities in this fight that I see. One for both Tony and one for Dubronis. Either Oliveira wins and proves he deserves that next shot at the title, because, like I said, it's been a long time since he's had a fucking L. And to be honest, he should be ranked a little higher than he is right now. But with the way that the UFC likes to play matchmaker, and especially when it comes to the lightweight division, it's kind of a tough fucking nut to crack. So this is his shot. I can see him getting it done. I can also see Tony getting it done now still. Tony is not the same guy we saw 4 years ago. Prior to his injury 4 years ago, when that initial Khabib fucking him thing came to fruition the first time, and then fell apart 4 other fucking times in the last fucking 5 years, he's not the same person. However, he's still fucking dangerous. I mean, he took away fucking Cowboy's one chance that he had left at getting a shot at the title, because, well, Cowboy's a fucking idiot and takes any fight. And I love Cowboy. And I'm saying that with all due respect, but he literally has a Cowboy mentality of, fuck it, let's do this. So, I mean, and that was when Cowboy was on a fucking massive tear, just ripping through the 155-pound division. And he came back, looked fucking solid against him, just picked him apart, did great. And then he goes out and fights Gaethje, and Gaethje whips his fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like, El Kukui is no longer El Kukui after that. Like, the El Kukui part goes away. For those of you who don't understand what El Kukui is, just think of it as the Mexican boogeyman. That part goes away. You're not El Cucuy anymore. Anybody who's watched any of the lead-ups, after his last fight, he fired his nutritionist and took it into his own hands. Now, is that going to play out good for him or not? I don't know. He still trains in that weird, funky-ass fashion that he's been doing forever. So that hasn't changed because, well, fuck, it's worked for him for so goddamn long. Why change it? Unless he really takes a badass whooping here, I don't think he'll change it. In fact, if anybody who was watching goes and watch any of the lead up to this, go watch how he was training this week in Vegas. He was over at Cirque du Soleil's practice area, fucking around on trampolines and shit like that. So, I mean, he does some off the wall unorthodox shit. So, I still think he's got enough fire in him where he could be a very big problem for Do Bronx. However, this is that point of prove you've still got it, Tony. This is your opportunity to prove it. Or, Do Bronx, this is your opportunity to prove, yeah, you deserve that title shot next. However, we don't know who it's going to be against.
Right. Yeah. It's still crazy up there.
Because Dana refuses to fucking have the title vacated because that dude is come hell or high water, thinks Habib is coming back. And you know what? I say give him a year. I'm okay with him taking a year because we see that a lot with a lot of the titles where they'll sit for a year before they defend them. Biggest one you'll see, Stipe. Stipe likes to take his sweet time. I love Stipe, but man, that dude likes to take his time when it comes to defense. And you know what? You got the title. What are you gonna fucking do?
That's right. You got the belt. You call the show.
That's it. So I mean, I'm hard pressed to say Tony's gonna win this one, but I think he's got a good chance. I have to pretty much go on consensus here, and I think Do Bronx gets it. I don't think it's going to be easy for him, though. I really don't. In fact, I think he's going to have to work really hard to get a fucking finish in this one. Like, if he gets a finish, probably late third, fourth, maybe early fifth round. And then I say if, because I don't know if he'll finish him or not, because we've only seen Tony get finished once in the last how many years? That was by Gaethje, but Gaethje has been known to kill motherfuckers. And look what he did to Cowboy and everybody else on his way to his run at the title. What the fuck he was doing when he was fighting Khabib, unless it was the bright lights got in his eyes or something, I don't know. But, you know, either way, it's neither here nor there. So I say good luck fucking finishing Tony, but I don't think Tony wins it. Although he could prove me wrong and say, you know what, his last fight was a fucking hiccup.
So the way I'm looking at this is both of them have a fucking good chance of taking this. Fucking, because Ferguson, yeah, like TJ said, he's not the same person. But that man's still dangerous as fuck. But Oliveira's like, he's just too fucking smooth and too fast for an aging fighter, somebody who everybody knows just isn't in his prime anymore. Everybody knows that Ferguson's not in his prime. He's still dangerous as fuck, and nobody, not a soul in the UFC, will ever say that he is not. But with everything put together on how they performed over the last years, everything like that, Oliveira has the edge, just on he's always doing better and better and better each fight. He's always doing something different. His game plan and his toolbox is always evolving. I have to give the edge to Oliveira on this. It's not going to be easy in any way, shape, or form, and both of them are going to look like hammered shit at the end of this fight. But I have to give the edge to Oliveira. If Ferguson can pull something out, fucking hats off to you, sir. But Oliveira has the edge, and Oliveira should have had a fucking title shot about a year and a half ago.
Absolutely agree. 100% For whatever reason, Oliveira is that like the epitome of the fucking dark horse in that fucking lightweight division, in my opinion. I don't understand why or how people have been sleeping on him so fucking hard when, like we said, dude hasn't lost a fight since he fought Felder back in 17. Like, he's just been ripping fucking arms and necks off and dropping motherfuckers with vicious fucking shots for 3 years straight now. So if people are going to play that whole Tony didn't lose a fight for 5 years card, well, Charles hasn't lost a fight for 3. And the last one that he lost was a fucking barn burner to begin with. Put some respect on his fucking name. Oliveira, man. Oliveira, that dude. So, that being said, before we jump into our 12-ounce tomahawk that we've got for our tiny little main course meat section, we did just get a live update here on the end of the Bellator 254 card. Holy shit, boys and girls. Holy shit. I told you last week there were 3 fights to keep an eye on. The last 3 fights on that card. LDV versus Ronnie Marks, Magomed Magomedov versus Matos, and then the champ, Alimale versus Velasquez. LDV came out, put fucking work in, finished Ronnie Marks. Magomed Magomedov came out, put fucking work in, managed to get the unanimous decision against Matos, 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. Beat that fucking ass. But the fucking asshole puckering moment of the evening that I very much had to bite my fucking lip watching out of the corner of my eye over here while we were doing this. The unthinkable has happened. Alimale McFarlane has lost her belt to Juliana Velasquez. Unanimous decision, 48-47, 49-46, 48-47. Unanimous decision. Alimale is no longer the flyweight queen over in Bellator. Juliana Velasquez now takes that crown. Long live the queen. Going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because going into that match, somebody's O had to go. 11-0, 10-0. One of those ladies was not coming out of that match undefeated. Turns out, Alimale McFarlane's the one that's got that L column.
I watched that while we were talking over the fights here. Limale got fucking worked bad. She had a big old gash here. She might have had him nose broken because they were fucking both squeezed off during between rounds. She looked good in the 4th, like she was going to come back and do something, and then couldn't get her back to the ground.
Put it together. Yeah, couldn't put it back together.
Fucking
props to Velasquez, man. We know Alimale's no fucking slouch, and to be able to fucking dominate her like that for 5 rounds, good on you, homegirl. Good on you. It's going to be interesting to see where she goes going forward and how they have her fucking setting up her first title defense. Wow. I'm kind of surprised that decision came out like that, but I well earned. She definitely put the fucking work in for it. That being said, that will bring us back to our perfectly seared filet mignon that is our meat of the meat and potatoes in this meat and potatoes portion of the meat and potatoes section in the meat and potatoes coverage of our show. The marquee battle on this particular event, the reason for the season, the namesake of this particular episode of the show, Davison, the God of War Figueiredo versus Brandon, the baby assassin Moreno. This, like we said, is one way or another, regardless of the outcome, a piece of history. This will be the fastest any UFC championship belt from any division has ever been turnaround defended. We are talking 3 weeks from title defense to title defense. They ended up having to keep both of these gentlemen in Las Vegas so that Figueiredo didn't go back and go ride in water buffalo and get fucking hurt before another fight in 2 weeks. And the best part about this is that both of these gentlemen fought on the same card 3 weeks ago. So there is no advantage to either fighter here. They're both going through the same amount of time. They're both going through the same weight cut. They both knew at the same moment that their fight was literally going to be 3 weeks ahead of when they just finished that match. This going in has all things equal. But if you look at how we got to this fight, Brandon Moreno, to his credit, has been slowly and dangerously been working his way up that division. The problem is the way that he got his title fight was of nothing of his own doing. What we saw 3 weeks ago was that Brandon Royval's shoulder literally popped completely the fuck out of socket during the match, and he quit. He stopped because he was fucking injured, and he had to. That injury is literally what put Brandon Moreno into this title shot. To be 100% honest with you, I don't think it should have. I think it should have been a run back. I think they should have immediately rebooked Moreno versus Royval for 8 weeks from now if Royval is not going to go get that shoulder surgery. If he is, we can move on. But we didn't know. They didn't give us a chance to find out. Within 25 minutes of that fight being over, maybe half an hour it took to get Figueiredo out to his decision, we already knew that they were going to immediately turn back around, and the next pay-per-view out, going from 255 to 256 here, we were going to get that belt defended again. I got nothing against the guy getting a title shot. I'm old school, though. If you get your shot, it shouldn't be because you're a Boy Holly Holm. It should be because you earned your fucking title shot by taking out the top contender. That didn't happen. As far as I'm concerned, Royval is still the top contender. He got injured in that fight. On the other side of that coin, you've got Deiveson Figueiredo, who's been violently and loudly tearing and shredding his way up this fucking division while they denied him like a little brother with his hand on your forehead from that title shot as long as they possibly fucking could. They tried everything in their power to shove Joe Benavidez into that championship, and they could not fit that square peg in that fucking round hole no matter how much they pushed. Not once, but twice in a row, Figueiredo proved Benavidez had no place in that fucking octagon and no place in a title match in that octagon. That's Deiveson Figueiredo's fucking belt. And then we saw Alex Perez, another one who came up and was getting pushed by the UFC so fucking hard trying to put that round peg through that, or that fucking square peg through that round hole. And again, less than 2 fucking minutes, Figueiredo does short fucking work and proves that this is Figgy's belt. And you got to be a bad motherfucker to take it off his goddamn waist. Demetrius Johnson himself said that unless something miraculous happens, he sees Deiveson Figueiredo being the one to challenge his 11 title defense record. I like Moreno. I really do. Aside from being a pretty decent fighter, he's a good human being. He's a fucking smart commentator. He does almost all of the UFC Spanish broadcasts. The man knows his shit. But there are levels to knowing your shit. Moreno is right here, but Figgy is right here. I don't think this fight sees a third round. I think Figueiredo gets him in the middle of the second. I think Moreno goes to sleep. I think he punches him the fuck out. I think Moreno's going to get too sloppy. He doesn't understand what he's up against. And I think Figgy is going to give him the same treatment he gave Joey Benavidez. One shot right to the dome, sits you on your fucking ass. Good night, Gracie.
Yeah, Deiveson Figueiredo is probably my favorite guy going right now. It's tough for me to think of. It's tough for me to think of anybody who I enjoy watching more. Not only is he one of the smartest fighters, because he usually does not engage the violence. Yeah. Usually he lets the violence come to him, and he'll take a couple of shots. And if he's going to knock you out, it's going to happen in a hurry. That dude has unreal power for this division. Like, it's unreal how much power that dude packs. And ask Joseph Benavidez's face, not once, but twice, how much power that dude holds. And then ask Moreno like, or we talk like it's like this dude can switch from one thing to another so quick that you have no time to respond. Like you saw with his last title defense, he went from attempting a knee bar to countering the scramble into a guillotine, and it was so smooth and so violent that it's ridiculous what this man's capable of. He gets a little bit of English in him. He could be the face of the UFC. Like, that's how good this guy is.
He's working on it. If you saw the embedded from this week, when he was in the barbershop and they cut his hair, Waleed, his manager and translator, asked him in Portuguese, how he likes his haircut, and he turned right to the barber and said, "Very good, I like."
Very good.
Baby steps, but hey,
baby steps. Like that's all he has to say coming out of this fight. How was the fight? Very good, I like. And he's the face of the UFC.
Exactly.
Like he's that fucking good. And you're right, they tried to keep it from him. They keep trying to push these people into the spotlight that don't deserve to be there, that aren't nearly as good as him. And he's been taking it out on him. And he's going to take it out on again on Saturday. And it's going to be a very violent ending. Second, I'll go with the second. My heart kind of says it's going to end in the first, but I could see the second. I could see him.
Yeah, I'm trying to give Moreno a little bit of chance here.
Yeah, like Moreno, like Moreno's not nearly on this level, and we've seen it over and over again. So yeah, Figueiredo. I love watching this dude fight, and he doesn't fight for long. He doesn't get paid by the hour. He gets paid by the finish, and
that's right.
He's quickly adding up to that 11 fight finish. We'll see, but he's something to watch.
The only thing Moreno has going for him right now, other than a whole bunch of luck that somebody's arm popped out of their socket and they stopped it with just seconds in the first round.
1 second left.
I'm just saying, he would have gotten his ass whipped after that, I think, because they popped it right back in and he would have been ready to go again. But no, we had a trigger happy. Let me rephrase this. We had what I would think of as an early stoppage. However, because the strikes he was taking didn't look that bad. Now, he took quite a few of them, but they weren't heavy. They looked quick and light. Like you were trying to just get as many on as you could in the last 10 seconds. Score some points. Okay. Yeah. Besides that, credit where credit is due. He's a solid all-around fighter. You said earlier, great human being, great father, blah, blah, blah. The other one big thing he has going for him, first Mexican from Mexico to ever challenge for a title. You look at the other people that have challenged for titles previously, all born in the United States. So he's actually Mexico born.
Yeah, he's from TJ.
That's fucking cool. You're a little piece of history here, man. Now, with that little piece of history comes an asterisk of you're not going to win this fight. Because, to be honest, he doesn't have an earthly chance in fucking hell against Figueiredo. There's something about Figueiredo that reminds me of a cross between Conor McGregor and Borat. Because right now, his English is on a Borat fucking level. And he has the cocky attitude of fucking Conor McGregor. However,
yes,
Brazilian does not translate well to English when you're cocky. And it's not that it doesn't translate well. They refuse to translate it the right way so it works correctly. I'm saying, at least when you're speaking to somebody who's from fucking Ireland and they still speak English, There might be a few little slang words that we might not understand, but we get the general picture. Having a translator, they're definitely not going to say exactly what you're saying. Because why? Some of those words lost in translation.
It'll work, yeah.
But still, he's gonna be a fucking tough nut to crack for anybody coming up. I don't see anybody in this division that gives him any trouble. Brandon Moreno is just another fucking infinity stone to the fucking goddamn gauntlet. That's it. I think we get this one into the second round because I think Moreno's just wily enough to get it out of the first.
So I'm gonna make this short, sweet, and to the point. Give Moreno a year, and then run this fight back. Moreno will win. I don't think in any way, shape, or form Moreno is ready for Figueiredo, champion or not. In no way, shape, or form is Moreno ready for it. He has talent that is undeniable. He didn't get to the top 10, top 15, top 5 for no fucking reason at all. He has legitimate talent. He has legitimate skill. He is just not ready for somebody as fucking savage as Figueiredo right now. Point blank period. Give him a year, and I think he'd be there. I think Figueiredo is going to fucking destroy his baby looking face, and it's just going to be over. I don't care when. It's going to happen.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see where Moreno plays out in a year because I mean, again, there's always the puncher's chance. Every round starts on the feet, but Figueiredo's dangerous on the feet too. He's almost more dangerous on the feet than he is on the ground, and he's dangerous as fuck on the ground as well. So Moreno's got a chance. It's a very, very small, very slim, very narrow margin of a chance, but he's got a chance. But I'm completely anticipating this being the Figgy show Saturday night. It's Figgy's world right now. We all just live in it at this point. I agree 100% with TJ. He is a little fucking Portuguese Conor McGregor with a sprinkling of Borat, like a salt-based sprinkling of Borat on top. Like, very nice. I think he's got all the fucking makings to be the next fucking face, to be what Mighty Mouse couldn't be in the face of the smaller guys in the UFC. He's charismatic enough. He's good enough in the octagon. He's young enough to do this for a while. Like, Figueiredo could be cementing himself in that Mount Rushmore of the UFC badasses. And I think we're watching the chiseling unfold as he's getting his fucking sculpture done here. I, for one, am fucking excited to see how it plays out. The thing is, we don't know if that's how it's going to play out. That's the great thing about MMA, though, is regardless of how much we want to see something play out, regardless of how much something should play out that way, there's no guarantees. The only way to know how it actually plays out is to stick around until Saturday night and keep an eye on it. TJ's got to run off. He is on Mr. Dad duty here. So if you folks need to find yourself some Kenosha cripplers or some fried cheese curds after this show is over, Golf TV Vapes on YouTube or Instagram, you can hit him up on either one. We do appreciate his time, but he's running Dr. Mom duty right now, or Mr. Mom duty right now. So we get it. Handle your business, brother. But that's all we've got for this particular episode here. So
Discord.
we didn't get there yet. Hang on.
I'm just reminding.
But better late than ever, I suppose. So we'll give you that. That being said, if at this point someone wants to learn about the Ohio area fighting circuit or how not to have a beard on a show full of guys with beards, how can they get a hold of you after this particular episode ends, RJ?
Although, speaking of the Ohio circuit, we actually just got licensed to go back live and fucking in-person events Our next event for the state of Ohio is January 15th.
Ooh, shit.
And then after that, I will be participating in a February event. So I'm very excited about that. Time to actually get back into some fucking action. But you could always find me over there at RJ MMA Official on Instagram. Come talk some shit and all that good stuff with me. It's been great to be here. And I'm going to pull a Dale Earnhardt with a third fucking Discord.
Oh, I thought you were gonna hit the wall.
Bastard. From the South, man. You can't do that. He's a god where I'm from.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciated. And then, as if a man could possibly ask for a fresher guest, I don't believe one exists. So at this point, if someone would like to know the greatest techniques to get their Uncle Chael hug on, where should they find that practice information, Fresh 03?
You can look up hip scoops on YouTube and go and practice those. Like I said, I think it's just a matter of time until everything opens back up at this point, and we'll actually be able to go and possibly sit down at a SUG event. Hopefully that's here in the next couple months with the Backstreet Boys possibly getting their tour canceled. So really looking forward to that. But while you're looking up hip scoops, you could always look at youtube.com/fresh03 and I'll teach you how to make some bathtub e-liquid. Be a good time.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated. That being said, before we get out of here this evening, I do want to take a moment to remind folks, if you enjoy the shenanigans that we get up to here on the I'm No Joe channel, be it the What Did I Say recap show, the Joe Liminary's news show, then we get a chance to do that, the full I'm No Joe podcast. If you dig the information that we provide, you can catch us on basically all social media platforms. We're on Facebook at I'm No Joe. We're on Instagram at I'm No Joe. If you are watching this live or on a replay, we also have a Instagram influencer level face free distraction version of the show available, all audio format. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe takes you to your podcast consumption platform of choice to get the all audio version of the show. We now also have, thanks to the 3 reminders from RJ here, a I'm No Joe Discord server. Link is in the description. I try and post most of the bigger pieces of news announcement, whether they make it into the show or not. Most of the little obscure and weird tidbits that don't make it onto the show that are still interesting, I drop those over there. So we're also getting ready to set up for 2021 a viewer Q&A segment for the show coming up, and that is going to be where you will submit your questions to get answered on the show by one of our friendly faces here. So do not hesitate to jump over to Discord and check out the I'm No Joe Discord. That being said, if you really dig what we do around this goofy ass channel, patreon.com/I'm No Joe is where you go to support, get your name on the end of an episode, get access to the behind the scenes shit, the unaired things and the unairable things that we just can't put here on YouTube on its own. And we appreciate it. Whether you join the Patreon or support, whether you're here in the live chat, whether you're catching a replay, we appreciate you guys nonetheless. If you dig what we're doing, thumbs up an episode here. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe on YouTube or Anchor, either way. Make sure you hit that notification button so you don't miss an episode. If you love the shenanigans and the shit talking that we get up to around here, share an episode of the show for us. We're trying to grow this damn thing. Doesn't matter. Any episode. Just share one. That's all we ask. On the other side of that coin, if we're just a couple of dumbasses and RJ sitting around here trying to figure out what the fuck we're really supposed to be doing with our lives, give us a thumbs down because we earned it and we won't dispute it. That being said, though, we are going to call that all for this particular episode. So until next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything unless you think you can post-date a self-pardon.
lightning. In front it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times